Good morning. This is Cecil and Blues. Today I'm covering all the features added with the Manderville Gold Saucer in patch 2.51. The Gold Saucer is a giant, flashy casino located in Thanalin, and it is operated by Godbert Manderville. I haven't encountered Godbert or Hildebrand yet inside the casino, but I'm sure they'll turn up eventually. If you've played Final Fantasy VII, then a lot about the Gold Saucer is going to feel very familiar, particularly the music. I really like the look of the place. It's eccentric and ostentatious in just the right way. Lots of Moogles and Cactars everywhere. Looking around the place will only take a few minutes. It's not that large, but there are several closed doors and elevators. It would be very easy to expand in the future. Everything in the Gold Saucer is purchased with and awards MGP, Manderville Gold Saucer points. Anytime you have less than 500 MGP, you are able to purchase up to 500 for 10 gil each. So even if you have terrible losing streak, you'll never be fully out of the game. But it's also impossible to buy your way to the cool prizes with gil alone. Once you've taken in the sights and collected your first 500 MGP, you'll probably want to do something. You have a ton to choose from, so I'll start with the very simple features and move on to the more involved stuff later. The arcade machines are probably the least complex feature in the Gold Saucer. There are 4 different games, and they each operate in a similar fashion, and cost 1 MGP per play. The first is Monster Toss, located in the Wonder Square. You have 30 seconds to score as many shots as you can. A strength bar fills and depletes with a target area highlighted. This targeted area moves between shots to keep you on your toes. The payout is shown in your duty list under the timer. 1 to 2 scores will pay 4, 3 to 4 scores will pay 6, and 5 plus will pay 10. Across the room from Monster Toss, you'll find Crystal Tower Striker. A similar strength bar appears at the bottom of the screen. There are 3 score areas, green for 2 MGP, blue for 3 MGP, and red for 5 MGP. The bar fills to the top and then starts over from 0. You have 15 seconds to hit the button to stop it. The bar will move rapidly at first, but it starts to slow down as time progresses. Over in the event square, you'll find Kuffakur. Once again, the strength bar appears at the bottom of the screen. This time the scoring regions are in the center. 2 for green, 5 for red, and 3 for the in-between area. You'll have 15 seconds to lock in your spin. The bar will move from left to right and it slows down as the timer gets closer to 0. On the other side of the event square is the final arcade game, Moogle's Paw. The interface for Moogle's Paw is the most unique. It has 2 buttons and no bar. Instead, a little Moogle is shown in the lower left, and there are 3 objects randomly placed inside the square. The first button will move the Moogle to the right, and the second button will move it upwards. You can only use each button once, and in sequence. You hold it down for as long as you want the Moogle to move, and let it go when you want it to stop. If you land on one of the larger blue objects, you will receive 2 MGP. If you can land on one of the smaller red objects, you'll get 5. As a note, interaction with the arcade machines is personal. You don't have to wait in line, and no one can see how well, or how badly, you are doing. The arcade games are great for capturing that boardwalk feel, but what if you're looking to capture that convenience store desperation? Getting rich as an afterthought to filling your car with gasoline. You, my friend, should look no further than the Cactpot. You can purchase a mini Cactpot ticket from the main counter for 100 MGP once per day. This resets at 8 AM Pacific time. Each ticket has 9 boxes which contain the numbers 1 through 9 randomly hidden. 1 box starts revealed, and you can then scratch off 3 additional boxes. I always scratch off the same pattern I use to unlock my smartphone. Once you've done that, you'll be able to select a row, column, or diagonal as your winning row. Once you've selected, all the numbers will then be revealed, and your numbers will be added up. There is a detailed list of payouts listed on the right side of the ticket. These payouts are always the same, even though the results on your ticket are not always guaranteed. Once you've been awarded your prize, you can highlight the other options to see if maybe you had a better payout available on your ticket. Once a week, there is a jumbo cactpot drawing. On American servers, this happens at 7 p.m. Pacific time on Saturday. You can purchase a ticket for 100 MGP and select 4 numbers. I like to go with my bank pin. It's always been lucky. Matching numbers are done from right to left, because Japan. If you're looking for something that occurs a little more often, then I suggest visiting the Gold Saucer at a quarter past the hour or a quarter of the hour in order to participate in one of the Gold Saucer active time events, or gates. One will happen every 30 minutes, and there is an entrance fee, but if you successfully complete the gate, you will be awarded MGP. There are 5 different gates, and which one occurs is completely random. I'll just run them down. Cliffhanger. This is a short jumping puzzle / obstacle course. It can take place either in the Wonder Square, on the platforms around El Colosso, or in Round Square as you climb Mount Coral. To start it, you will talk to an NPC with a quest icon, pay an entrance fee of 50 MGP, and she will teleport you to the start of the course. The object is to get to the top. Bombs are dropped on the paths, and if you are caught in their explosion, you will get knocked back, hard. If you fall off, you can return to the starting NPC, and they will teleport you back to the start of the course. You have 10 minutes to finish from the start of the event. The reward is 140 MGP at El Colosso, or 120 MGP at Mount Coral. Vase Off. This event always has the same layout, but you will be asked to deliver 1, 2, or 3 vases. The NPCs involved will always be in the same places. When this event starts, a bunch of extra NPCs will spawn in the Event Square and the Wonder Square. You'll be able to see these brigands even if you are not currently participating in the event, so if you want to scout around before starting, you can. Once you've picked up your vase or vases in the Round Square for 50 MGP, you'll need to deliver them without being seen by the brigands. They patrol in set paths and will pause randomly. If you are seen by a brigand, or if you jump or fall from a high place, you will lose your vases and have to return to the starting NPC to get new ones. This will cost you an additional 50 MGP. The payout for a 1 vase delivery version is 140 MGP. You will earn 320 MGP for delivering 2, and if you can correctly navigate the 3 vase delivery, it awards 480 MGP. Any Way the Wind Blows. This event takes place on the main stage. You talk to an NPC in the event square to be teleported on stage. You will have 2 minutes after the event is announced to register. Once registration is closed, you will have a brief period of time to choose a place to stand. Then you will be frozen in place, and Typhus will appear any damn place he wants and project an AoE which will knock anyone inside it back, causing them to fail the event. This process will repeat 5 times. Anyone left standing at the end is awarded some amount of MGP. I hear it's quite large, but I wouldn't know. My only advice for this event is to find me and stand somewhere else. Time of My Life. This event also takes place on the main stage, but it is startlingly easier than the last one. You'll have 2 minutes to register, at which point you will be teleported onto the main stage and given a pet action bar with 8 random emotes on it. You'll want to check those out before the event begins. Once registration is closed, NPC dancers will teleport onto the stage and up onto the balloon overhead in case things are too crowded down below. The floor dancers represent all race and gender combinations. It's best to locate your match so that your emotes look like their emotes. The NPCs will all perform a series of 4 emotes, and then you will have 15 seconds to repeat them. This will happen 4 times, and you'll need to match 10 or more emotes over the course of the event in order to be awarded the prize of 480 MGP. Skin change we can believe in. This event brings me back to Final Fantasy XI's Airship Ride minigame. You'll start at an NPC who informs you that an imp has copied them exactly. Complicating matters, there are also a bunch of adventurers in the area who look nearly identical. Once you've accepted this event for 50 MGP, you can speak to the NPC again, which gives you the opportunity to examine them more closely. This is a very valuable tool if the area is crowded. The next step is to speak to each of the atypical adventurers in the area. You can eyeball them, or you can speak to them and select the options to examine them more closely. Once you've located the exact match, turn in the quest to them, and you'll be awarded 480 MGP. If you get it wrong, you fail the event and you will not get another chance. Another important note: what you see is different from what other players see. Your correct answer is not likely to be the same correct answer as anyone you ask for help. I enjoy these events, even any way the wind blows begrudgingly. They are varied and all of them work as intended. There are lots of players participating right now, and that's to be expected. That only really seems to affect the cliffhanger events. Sometimes the bombs don't draw in fast enough for you to react, and they'll catch you by surprise. I strongly recommend turning off player names anytime you're in the Gold Saucer. It will help with both performance and visibility. Once you've exhausted the main floor activities, you can take the elevator near the main counter leading up to Chocobo Square. There you will be able to participate in the robust Chocobo racing feature. When you first start racing, you'll be given a piece of trash jalopy Chocobo, and you'll be able to pick its name by combining 2 words from a large selection. I, of course, went with my mother's maiden name. But I'm sure you'll construct some overwrought dick joke. How childish. You can dress up Racing Chocobo in any of the barding options that you've unlocked for your company Chocobo. I put a hat on mine. The concept of Chocobo racing, if you are unfamiliar, is basically horse racing. Ride your bird to the finish line. Though I suppose they don't have speed boost pads on most horse tracks. Or power-ups. But otherwise it's virtually indistinguishable. Except for the cactars. After getting a bird, the first thing you'll have to do is complete a short training race to learn the controls. What may come as a surprise to a new player is that the controls are a bit rigid. It works more like slot car racing than you would expect. Your Chocobo sits in one of the track's 8 lanes, and will run in that lane at its own pace unless given directions from you. You can have your bird move left or right to change lanes, and jump to avoid or interact with certain race obstacles. The speed of your Chocobo is influenced by pressing forward, which instructs your Chocobo to accelerate, and consumes your stamina bar. If you accelerate for too long, your Chocobo will become lathered and start burning stamina at a higher rate. If you run out of stamina, your Chocobo will become exhausted and lose the ability to accelerate for the rest of the race. Once you've completed your training race, you'll have the ability to enter normal races. As the NPC will explain, the races available to you will depend on your Chocobo's race rating. This is separate from your rank, and it is based on your stats. At the lowest level, the Maiden class is available to new riders, but as you gain ranks and raise your Chocobo stats, you'll lose the ability to participate in this class, and you'll have to join the R20 and up leagues. In addition to competing against tougher opponents, you'll also encounter tracks that are more fraught with danger. In the earliest tiers, only helpful objects appear on the tracks, but as you get to higher racing tiers, you'll have to worry about stationary traps, patrolling NPCs, and even artillery coming in from the sidelines. These races all take place on the currently 3 tracks, all of which are in existing game locations with many repurposed assets. There are subtle differences between the 3 tracks. Their lengths are distinct, but only 140 yalms separate the longest race from the shortest. And this distance is right in the sweet spot, where if you hold accelerate for the whole race, you'll definitely drop to 0 stamina and lose. but there's a lot of room for you to push a lathered chocobo and keep your lead. Perhaps in the future we'll see some tracks added that are extremely short or extremely long that will modify and add new strategies. The tracks are each constructed of unique footing. Sigully Road is dirt, Costa del Sol is sand, and the Tranquil Pass is turf. Additionally, certain weather effects are possible in each of these locations, and there is some overlap. These facts are more than just aesthetic. Your chocobo has preferences, and performs better under certain conditions. Perhaps you've heard the racing term mutter. It refers to a horse that performs better on a wet track. The layout of each course is set and never changes, but the position of buffs and hazard changes with each race tier. So, when you make the transition to a tougher league, be ready for a couple of surprises. The simplest of these obstacles are tiles that occupy a single lane. Blue gives you a nitro boost, and green restores 10% stamina. But watch out for purple, which reduces your speed for a short period of time, and red, which depletes 10% stamina. You'll also encounter coffers along the way. When one is getting close, a display will pop up in the lower right, and it will show you the next 4 items, allowing you to perhaps strategically adjust your race position to get a better item, or at the very least, to know what the other racers are picking up. Some items are self-buffs, such as a stamina regen, a nitro boost, a period of 0 stamina drain, or a hero potion that turns your chocobo into a tiny racing god for 15 seconds. There is also a Choco Aether, which will recharge your chocobo's innate ability if you have one. Alternatively, you can get one of the attack items. There is a Gravity Ball, which will snare an opponent ahead of you for 5 seconds, the Bacchus Water, that causes the opponent immediately ahead of you to be unable to stop accelerating for 15 seconds. There is also an AoE that is centered on you and will drain anyone in close proximity's stamina by 20%. And finally, the Choco Meteor, the item that F's over everyone ahead of you by draining 20% stamina and reducing all of their stats for 6 seconds. Once you get to the higher tiers of racing, you'll also start to encounter NPCs on the field. If you interact with these NPCs by bumping into them, they will affect you with status effects or reduce your stamina, or sometimes both. Each race you run earns you experience and MGP. The higher tier the race, the better the rewards. First place gets the highest reward, and each placing earns slightly less, down to 8th, which earns just 40% the maximum possible. But that is never less than the 10 MGP entrance fee, so you'll always be turning a profit. As you earn experience, your chocobo's rank will increase, and you'll have the ability to customize your chocobo's advancement by feeding it the stat food you want to see improved. There are 5 stats available to all chocobos: maximum speed, acceleration, endurance, which affects how long you can accelerate for before becoming lathered, stamina, which affects how much endurance you have total, and cunning, which improves your chocobo's ability to change lanes and take corners, allowing it to be more responsive and not lose as much speed. Each time your chocobo gains a rank, you'll have the ability to feed it for a stat gain of your choice. Grade 1 food can be purchased at Bench Branch Meadows for 1500 gil. Grade 2 and Grade 3 feed is available from the tack and feed vendor at the Chocobo Racing Counter for 1100 and 2750 MGP. You can also check your server's auction house, because crafters are able to produce Tier 2 feed. Chocobos can also learn abilities. Currently, these include Reflect, Steal, Cure, Dash, Asunya, Shock, and Silence. Your bird will learn an ability at level 10, and if you don't like it, you can purchase a Leave Water from the tack and feed vendor for 800 MGP. That makes them forget it, allowing you to purchase a training manual, also sold by the tack and feed vendor, to teach them an ability you want, or you can gamble by leaving it blank and gaining another level. Chocobos can have a secondary ability, but it is only learned through breeding and cannot be changed. This leads us to the final piece of the feature. Once you've raised your chocobo to rank 40 or higher, you can retire it from racing. You'll be given some paperwork that allows you to use your retired chocobo in breeding up to 10 times. If you have both a male and female retired chocobo, you can breed them, or you can purchase a one-time use breeding chocobo from the tack and feed trader. As the pedigree of your chocobo increases, its starting stats improve as well as its maximum stats. By breeding my starting grade 1 chocobo with a rented grade 3, I received a new grade 2 fledgling. Its starting stats weren't too much improved, but the stat maximums are increased by a significant portion. There are 9 pedigree levels, so if you are aiming to make the best chocobo, you have a long road ahead of you and lots of top-tier food to purchase. If you thought you could bypass the whole system by purchasing a grade 9 pair of permission slips, unfortunately they thought of that. Another warning, when abilities are being inherited, the lower grade chocobo has a greater influence. This chocobo racing system provides everything I would have expected, maybe even a little bit more. Each race lasts about 3 minutes, and the queue times are usually less than 15 seconds. Races are confined to your server, and if there are not enough players in your bracket currently racing, NPCs will fill in the gaps so you can keep on going. It's great casual fun, and a perfect fit for Final Fantasy XIV. My only complaint is that when the race servers are busy, the races move with this awkward, herky-jerky motion that makes it hard to control and really pulls you out of the game. Hopefully, as time goes on, they will improve these servers, or maybe there'll just be less people playing so that the hardcore racers will be left with a superior experience. Time will have to be the judge on these performance issues, but even when it looks clunky, the mechanics are all working correctly. This system is top-notch, best in class. No other MMO has a minigame of this caliber and depth. It is an utterly unique feature, and the team that put it together should be damn proud of it. Everything is also easily expandable. This is a feature that will grow if the community enjoys it. The final feature added with the Gold Saucer is Triple Triad, a head-to-head card game introduced in Final Fantasy VIII. Triple Triad is played on a 3x3 grid. Each player constructs a 5-card deck ahead of time. The player who goes first is chosen randomly at the start of each match. During your turn, you will place a card from your deck in any of the empty spaces on the board. If that card touches one of your opponent's cards, you will compare the numbers on your card to the numbers on theirs. Only the numbers that touch matter. If your card's number is higher than the opponent's, then that card flips over and becomes yours. Play continues back and forth until all 9 spaces are filled, at which point the player with the most cards under their control is declared the winner. It's very simple, but also very complex. There are also a collection of optional rules that can radically affect your strategy. Each zone that you can play Triple Triad in will have a regional rule that applies to all games in that zone. This rule changes daily and is not the same across all servers. If you are challenging another player, you will alternate on who gets to set any additional rules. If you are playing against an NPC, they always get to set their additional rules. Your opponent's cards are hidden unless the rules All Open or 3 Open are in play. You choose the order to play your cards in unless the rules Order or Chaos are in play. If sudden death is active, then games are not allowed to end in a tie. If it does, you start over, but now you are playing with the 5 cards that were in your control at the end of the last hand. If the random rule is in place, then you will not get to choose the deck that you will be playing with. Instead, 5 cards from your collection will be chosen at random. The reverse rule changes the game so that small numbers now beat large numbers, and Fallen Ace allows the A ranking to be captured by a 1. The last 2 rules, Plus and Same, are more complex and come with the hidden Combo rule. If Same is in effect, when you play a card that touches 2 or more cards and the numbers touching are the same, then all affected cards are flipped. Plus works similarly, except it's the total of the sum of the touching numbers that matter. When either of these rules are in play, if you score a plus or a same, then a combo may be announced. Essentially, the game treats your newly captured cards as if you have just played them, allowing them to capture cards adjacent to them. The same and plus rules will not apply to the combos, but they can still entirely reverse the course of a game. Most of Triple Triad is played against NPCs. They hold cards that you want to add to your collection and offer MGP to players who can beat them. Each NPC is their own puzzle, with a static-ish deck and a set of rules. Though, because many of them are out in the world, keep an eye on that regional rule. Sometimes it can make certain NPCs seem unbeatable, but you can come back tomorrow and perhaps the regional rule will now play into your favor. There are currently 32 NPCs to play against, and you won't always get the card that you want out of them the first time you win, so expect to spend some time on this. You can also play against players anytime you want. Your first 5 games in a day offer greater rewards, up to 180 MGP for a win. After those 5 games though, it drops to only 25 MGP per win. This avoids excessive win trading between players. Though I still see people looking for win trading in chat, and people offering to lose 5 games for a guild payment. What's 1000 MGP worth? Well, bet it depends on your server. Anyway, I've had fun playing with my friends, but I think Triple Triad works best when thought of as a puzzle, so I prefer to play against the NPCs. You can also participate in the bi-weekly Triple Triad tournament. A first, second, or third place finish will earn you a unique card. Currently, that card is Lightning from Final Fantasy XIII. Your tournament ranking is determined by the number of points you earn while playing 15 tournament matches. You can play against the NPCs in the card square or challenge other players. A player's value is determined by their win-loss ratio for the week, while NPCs have a static value. Expect that organized groups of players will be dominating the leaders board for the tournament pretty much forever. As long as you can choose your opponents, win trading will be the key to a high point score. I would like to see the tournament work as a duty queue, where you are paired with an unknown player from any server who has the same current win-loss ratio as you, with no communication options. That would create a more fair, truly competitive environment. But it might take a long time for a queue to pop. I'm not certain on the logistics. Either way, with only 3 tournament victory cards given out each tournament, this will always be the rarest card. It will be a real badge of honor regardless of the steps you had to take in order to accomplish the goal. While that card will largely be unavailable to the average player, there are 79 other cards in the Triple Triad collection that you can focus on. The vast majority of these cards come from playing Triple Triad, but quite a few can only be obtained as a random drop when completing specific dungeons or trials. The site FFXIV Triad has a full list of cards and NPC opponents. It's the resource I use for card collecting. As a whole, Triple Triad is not a complex game, but its implementation is flawless. Again, there is nothing like this in any other MMO, and it is executed to perfection, with plenty of room for expansion. It's not a fully featured CCG like Magic the Gathering or Hearthstone, but it is a fun casual distraction and a perfect fit for Final Fantasy XIV. Now, if you've been participating in these features, you've been earning Manderville Gold Saucer points, and I'd bet you'd like to know what you can do with them. Well, there are practical purchases like Chocobo feed and breeding fees, but there are also some great cosmetic rewards, including a few weapons for 10,000 apiece, a set of Gambler's Attire for 200,000, a Playboy Bunny type outfit for 180,000, this is only available for female characters, and some other outfits that I don't have an easy shorthand for, but they're available incredibly cheap and probably not worth your time. There are also 4 new cosmetic pets. The Water Imp and the Zoo Hatchling are available for 10,000 points, while the Black Coral and Heavy Hatchling will cost you 20,000 each. The Adamantoise mount can be purchased for 200,000 MGP, and obtaining Fenrir will set you back 1 million Manderville Gold Saucer points. You can pick up some Gambler's Barding for your Chocobo for 20,000, and you can unlock a new hairstyle at the barber for 8,000 points. As a whole, this is a huge feature patch, even though it's all optional and kinda silly. There were some initial problems with the patch, and Square warned of congestion at the Gold Saucer, but as a whole, I haven't noticed too many performance issues. You may need to turn down some settings and hide player names due to the crowds, but server side, things seem to be pretty stable. Chocobo racing aside, as I mentioned earlier. Earning MGP seems pretty even too. I'm sure there are ways to optimally farm MGP in order to access all of the rewards as soon as you possibly can, but that's not really my playstyle. If you want to burn yourself out and suck all the fun out of these features, feel free. I'm going to approach the Gold Saucer as it was meant to be, casually and for fun. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to punch this cur in the face 500,000 times so that I can ride Fenrir. While I'm doing that, you can hit the like button below if you enjoyed this video. You can check out my full review of A Realm Reborn by clicking on the annotation or following the link in the description. I'll be doing a full review of the story in Final Fantasy XIV once the final story patch has been released at the end of March, and I'll add an annotation to that once it is available. Or you can subscribe to the channel, and that way you'll be notified when new videos are published. You can also follow me on Twitter @itsboats. Well, what do you think of the Gold Saucer? Did I miss anything important? Let me know in the comments section. I look forward to your feedback.